So joining me is Mr. Eklavya, is the lawyer from Rishabh Pant's side. And Eklavya, thank you so much for joining us. If you could just tell us about the story, that what exactly has happened and what is the further steps which will be taken.
See, as I've told you earlier, also, this is basically a case under the Negotiable Instruments Act, where the check issued by the accused, who is Mr. Mrinank Singh, has been dishonored on account of insufficient funds. To take the story back a little bit, how these two met and what actually transpired and why this check was issued was that sometime in 2020 or 2021, Mr. Mrinank Singh, who was known to Mr. Rishabh Pant, who is my client, through their cricketing commonalities. They had met somewhere in the ZCS, that Zonal Cricket Academy camp. So in 2021, Mr. Mrinank Singh falsely represented to my client that he has just started a new business dealing in luxury items and he can procure the same items for him at very reasonable costs. And therefore, on this proposal, he transferred a sizable amount to the bank account of Mr. Mrinank Singh, and also parted with certain luxurious articles like jewelry, etc., which are also for a relatively high amount, anticipating that the accused, Mr. Mrinank Singh, would be able to resell the same and give him huge high profits for it. After a while, once he was not able to obtain those articles and not deliver it to my client, we gave him a legal notice and a mutual settlement was arrived at for 1.63 crores, for which Mr. Mrinank Singh issued us a check. Now, once we presented this check before the bank authorities, we got a return memo saying that there has been a dishonorment of the check and it has bounced because of insufficient funds. So naturally, we took our recourse under the law, under Negotiable Instruments Act, and we filed a complaint under Section 138, which is what the stage is at the moment presently. The statement of the accused is to be recorded before the magistrate. Unfortunately, as we've gotten to know in the last hearing, the last date of listing, Mr. Mrinank Singh has been arrested in Bombay. He's lodged into Arthur jail, and he was not present in the last listing of our case, the complaint that is before the magistrate. So the magistrate has issued directions to the SHO over there and the police authorities to connect him virtually at the next date of hearing, which is 19 July. So fingers crossed he'll be present that day and his statement will be recorded. And we've also filed an application under Section 143A for interim compensation. That will also be taken up and arguments will be heard on that.
And how much money exactly is involved in this matter?
So like I said, the check amount is rupees 1.63 crores. But if you would add, now it's almost been 14 months since the first amount was remitted from the bank account of Mr. Pant. So if you add interest to all the principal amount, it's roughly to the tune of 1.8 or 1.9 crores as on date.
Thank you, Mr. Eklavya, for joining us.
Pleasure, Mr. Srivastava.